Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Before we begin, head down into the show notes, get a load of all the fun things that we're doing on your YouTube channel. The free download for the Around the World Study North America, and the South America's coming. We have all their social media do it, but today we're going to the movies. At the movies with the boozes.
Yeah, family movie night. Hey,
Statler and Waldorf. Your movie was terrible.
Yeah, they don't come out with very many family-friendly movies, and not that often, so we feel like we got to talk about them. We've talked about Raya. We talked about the new Mulan movie. What else did we talk about?
I think those two. And then today we're going back to the movie theater. And by the movie theater, I mean our giant TV on our wall.
Yeah.
And enjoying the Netflix movie, The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yeah.
Now, the title of something like that is not something that you would immediately gravitate towards. But when you see Lord and Miller stamped on the side
Of Lego movie fame.
of Lego movie fame, and they did the most recent Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think, I don't know if they wrote that, but I think they might have produced that one.
Yeah, they're great.
So they produced this. They didn't direct or write it. Normally, the ones that are really good that you would gravitate towards would be the ones they directed and wrote. But they didn't do this one. But this was a fantastic movie.
It was fantastic. Now this is on Netflix.
Current tomato rating sitting at 98%.
98%. So we hardly need to talk about this, but we feel like when a cool family movie comes out, we got to tell you guys about it because it doesn't happen very often.
And not like reviewers matter. Like, I don't even know what some guy in Brooklyn thinks about this movie.
Yeah, really. I hate that, right? I hate when somebody was like, well, the themes in this movie, it's like, did your family enjoy this? Did it have a good message? Was there anything questionable in it that, you might have to watch for your kids? I mean, come on. This is a Netflix movie, so it's highly accessible. Mm-hmm. It's PG, hour and 54 minutes, so it doesn't even break the 2-hour mark. Thank you very much.
Doesn't have any, there's like scenes of peril and things like that, and kind of like robot-related violence. But other than that, it's not.
No one dies. There's no killing in it, even though the robots are taking over the world. They just capture the humans in these little hexagonal pods.
It was a clever way to get around the fact of like the Terminator 2 end of the world.
Right, the whole like mass slaughter thing. Yeah, no, it was just a capturing of the humans. This movie was really good because I think that they could have gone so wrong with this. The premise of the movie is that you have a family who's on a road trip when the robot apocalypse kind of thing happens, and they start scooping up all the humans, and they're the last ones left and need to battle the robots to defeat them and set society back on its axis.
And it has kind of cliche themes of a family that's struggling to connect and come together as a unit, and like that you would feel like, okay, how are they gonna there
could have been two separate movies here,
yeah.
Right? There's a daughter who's about to go off to college. She's going to go to film school, and she and her father, who's a big kind of outdoorsy guy, they just are on totally different wavelengths. And then you have this whole robot apocalypse thing, and that almost could have been two separate movies, and if they didn't do it cleverly, it would not have worked together. Mm-hmm. But it was such a specific issue too. It wasn't just like, parents, teenagers. It wasn't like that. They really had specific problems.
A lot of times when you have kind of those clashes within the family, they always make it like cultural so that it's time specific. Like, the kids these days and blah blah blah. They had a little bit of that, but it was really a little bit. It was really just a more ground level connection issue between the father and the daughter, and with the daddy with daughters, it was a little bit of the feels. But
I noticed that when we were watching it, but it was just done so well, and the way that the mother and the brother also were trying to constantly help to repair that relationship.
Yeah, and it was they were working together to try to like seam the two guys back together.
Right.
So it was made by the same studio, Sony, the Sony Animation Studio that did the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I believe that's also maybe the same animation studio that does the Hotel Transylvania movie, so that's not a universal recommendation.
But if you like this, if you like the Spider-Man styling from a CGI standpoint, I saw an enormous amount of parallels.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Similar styling. They did a little bit of the kind of double layering on the edge of all the characters. There was kind of like a haze on them that you saw that in the Spider-Man movie,
But not nearly as bad. I felt like it was
intense.
like
Yeah.
it was almost distracting and Into the Spider-Verse, and this one I barely noticed that.
Well, the Spider-Verse was trying to really capture the comic book feel.
They were.
But they pulled a little bit of that styling into this movie, but it wasn't, you're right, it was not over the top. They had so many kind of side gags in this show that you would think if they didn't do it in the way they did it, it would not be funny or it'd be too much. But there are always these like side cuts of all those movies that the daughter makes, or as they're going through the, fighting the robots and stuff, there were all these almost fantasy like illusions on how we're going to solve the problem. And it was sketchbook style stuff.
Right.
And there was even, I think at points, live puppets in some of the dream sequences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was so cleverly done, and it was so, I think, on the nose with modern humor. A lot of the internet culture, a lot of the internet humor kind of came into this, but it wasn't so much that, somebody who isn't in that world, the meme cultures and things of that nature, that they would not enjoy this. It was funny. It was very overtly hilarious in a lot of.
You're much more read into a lot
yeah.
of the memes and different things, and I'm really oblivious to most of that. And I can't remember the last time I laughed as hard at a movie as we did at this. It was funny. I found things funny. Then you found them funny on a different level because you knew the reference they were making, and then the kids also thought it was funny just from the gag that they were pulling. So we were all kind of laughing for different reasons, but we were all laughing. And
even the 2-year-old laughed a few times. Like it got
there
to
was some
that level,
hilarious, just kind of the way that they pulled faces. And there's this really funny dog in it. And
God, the dog.
We were dying watching this movie.
There's so many gags with it's a pug, and he's a little cross-eyed, and they did so many gags with this. And
is it a pug? Is it a cat?
Yeah, no. It was. Is it a dog? Is it a pig? Or is it a loaf of bread? And it was so funny.
It was done so well. The voice acting from Danny McBride as the dad, and Maya Rudolph. She's always fantastic. As the mom. Yeah, this is one of those movies that I would say just don't hesitate. Get these to Netflix.
Yeah,
this was so good.
This will absolutely be on the short list for best animated flick of the year.
Yeah, I imagine it will be.
Absolutely guaranteed, because not only did it have a sweet story with a good ending and a good message, but it also was extremely funny, like all Lord and Miller productions are. They just have this level of comedy that is layered. Mm-hmm. It's complex, and it's not. So in some comedies, what they do is they design gags and they design bits, and a lot of these bits will be like 2 or 3 minute setup, and then you get the laugh. They didn't necessarily do that here. There were jokes that had kind of a sequence where they would come back and they would cycle back,
and they got funnier as they came back.
Yeah, and then they kept building, and it happened throughout the movie.
And then there was great payoffs at the end for some of these running gags.
Yeah,
it's interesting. A movie like this, and you talk about it being up for Best Picture, right? We watched Soul together as a family with your parents, and it was very good. I have to say though, we watched Mitchells and the Machines like 4 or 5 days ago, and I remember almost all of the movie. Like thinking back, I remember all the parts. I remember a lot of the jokes. It's a movie that really stayed with me. I'll tell you what, we watched Soul, and as good as that movie was, it's Pixar, of course it was good. Within like 2 days, I don't remember most of that movie. I mean, I remember a couple of the major things. I asked you the other day when it was up for the Oscar, I was like, how did that movie end again? And you're like, how do you not remember how it ended? And I said, it just left so little impression on me. It wasn't that it wasn't really well done and very thoughtful, but I kind of walked away without really having connected to the movie. Like it was a heartstring type pulling movie. You'd think I would have connected. I'm usually pretty weepy at that kind of thing, but I really didn't.
I think with Soul, what they ran into the issue, it became too it became too meta in some
I was
respects.
wondering if you were saying that.
Yeah,
meta.
it was. They were trying to carefully go after a very deep idea of, meaning in life, chance, afterlife, things of that nature. It was a very bold movie in a lot of respects, especially, I think I said this before on some of our earlier movie reviews. Movies like Inside Out are extremely bold movies. I mean, those are not movies that most, like, if a studio is going to sit here and they're going to say, am I going to make a movie like The Minions, which will obviously children will like, or am I going to be bold and bring in like Psych 401 stuff into my movie, like Inside Out? That is a level of boldness of storytelling that I really, really appreciate, because, just going out there and making your next canned Transylvania #4, right? Hotel Transylvania 4 is a lot easier to do.
Which our kid's going to lap up, by the way.
Yeah, and and who doesn't love themselves some blobby, But if movies like these type of movies are very, I appreciate them, because I think when children see sophisticated storytelling at this level, when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I think they get more out of it than just some silly, over the hedge type of movie, that's just kind of a slapsticky, humorous, anthropomorphized movie of some animals, right? I really appreciate these deeper messages, because when they get a little bit older, I will be happy to sit down and watch Mitchell's versus the Machines or Inside Out, or even movies like Soul, and get more out of it. Like, every viewing, based on your age and your maturity, you just get more out of it. And I really appreciate movies where, and I know that's the harder path, because trust me, like, you make a movie like this and you could totally bomb and it would just be terrible. And you put, $100 million into a movie with thousands of people working on it, and the story just falls flat. And that's it's a nightmare for these guys. And it's very bold that they do this. And I've heard some of the processes with like Pixar is that they do a lot of iteration and they go back and they rewrite and they reanimate. And that's why their movies take a lot longer, is that they really try to make sure the story works at kind of a ground level before they actually release it. They ran into that problem with The Good Dinosaur, where the movie just wasn't working and it just got delayed and delayed and delayed, and they had to redo portions of the movie because
it kind of never ended up working. It's not bad.
It's not a bad movie.
But it's not to their level.
No, you watch something.
We know they can do better.
you point to A Good Dinosaur, and most people forget that was a Pixar movie,
right? Because it doesn't feel like it, and I appreciate,
because they have a high bar.
They do. Right? I appreciate them being ambitious, but at the same time, I think what was so great about Mitchell's versus the Machines is they went for some really deep feels. The whole thing going on with the daughter and the dad, and then there was some commentary on tech and its role in our lives and stuff that was kind of interesting. I liked that they were able to go for a really deep emotional message that could carry through and our kids could really see, and then have lots of silly, just over the top fun, zooming around, blowing robots out of the sky type thing. I liked that they married those, because it feels like a lot of times, like a Pixar will just go for a Soul or an Inside Out, which while great, it's a deep thing and it's all in there. I liked that this had a mix of both. Like our daughter didn't care for Soul because she just didn't really understand it. It was an animated movie that was too old for an almost 6-year-old, and that was just a hard thing.
Yeah, Soul was too old for her.
Like, she can enjoy it now, and as you say, as she grows, she's going to get more and more out of it with successive viewings, and she'll take more away.
Even movies like Onward, I don't know if she got as much out of that as, say, like parents or even
and they
older
tried
kids.
to do that, right? They tried to have a deep message around, with a hero's journey kind of wrapped around the whole thing, and an adventure thing, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah. I mean, well, you had Pratt and the kid. Well, who's the Spider-Man kid? I always forget his name.
Oh, I don't remember his name, but the Spider-Man kid.
They were really good and everything, but you're right. Like, it was just, I think it was just above her level. She wants more of a Dory. She wants more of a, Finding Nemo.
But she totally got the Mitchells versus Machines.
She did.
She totally understood it.
I don't think she got as much of the, but again, like, if we're going to be just as critical on those movies as we are on the Mitchells movie, there were a lot of storyline elements there. She just did not understand what was going on.
Right. But I think that's okay, because she enjoyed the movie enough that she'll want to watch it again when she's older, and then she'll get more out of it. Whereas Other movies, if they're too deep or don't click yet, I'm gonna have to wait quite a while to go back to that.
The other thing too is what I like is, I'm trying to cultivate sarcastic humor, in my children.
Thanks so much. Really, I'm gonna appreciate this as a mom of teenage girls at some point.
My sophisticated dad jokes are gonna just flow downstream like the salmon of Capistrano. Oh, I can't wait till Dumb and Dumber comes, man. There's a day.
Oh man, I hope I'm not. I hope I'm out at the spa or somewhere
that will
with my friends or something. I don't want to be home for that day.
It will be one of my proudest father moments. Anyway, but like there were moments where we were laughing at things, and I don't think she got the joke. So it's nice for her to experience more elevated humor, so that she can. Because with elevated humor, okay, yeah, that's a funny joke and stuff, but there's a lot of cultural and societal nuance in humor. And when you get to these more complex and more higher level abstracted humor, it gets her brain going. And I think they think more complex. If you can understand very nuanced, abstract type of humor, not just, your normal gag, dad fell down or the dog looks silly. If you can get higher level humor, there's a level of cognitive ability in there. And I know I'm trying to pitch humor as like in a homeschooling way.
It's working for me.
Yeah. Like there's, you have to understand there's a lot that the joke is built on, right? There's a lot of structure beneath the joke. And if you can get a joke or even work towards it, we always talk about this idea of active literacy,
right?
Where you always want to read up, and not always, but if you want to pull yourself up, you want to read books that are a little bit more challenging. And we do that with our children, right? We read a lot of children's books to our kids, and then we start doing chapter books, and the kid's not paying attention. I got to pick the right chapter book, or my chapter book has to have a little bit of pictures. And then, now it gets into it. Same thing with like movies with humor and more complex subjects. We want to be able to, in a safe environment where the content is not, sexualized or violence or anything of that nature, be able to pull up the abstraction. And these movies help do that. Yeah. And I think they help lift her, the kids today are going to have unbelievable storytelling, expectations when they're older, because movies like Mitchell's versus the Machines or Inside Out and movies like that, I mean, the storytelling is very sophisticated. And if they can, grok that at this age, that is a skill that I don't think enough effort has been put into understanding the skill around good storytelling, and what that means for abstracting expectations into the real world and learning about nuanced societal things or nuanced understandings of what is right and what is wrong in the world. And storytelling is that great mechanism that human beings can learn by not actually doing. And that kind of separates us from the dolphins or whatever, the elephants and stuff. We have this abstraction mentality that we can actually experience without actually doing, and we can learn without actually experiencing. I think these type of things are really sophisticated, and I don't, some people like to make jokes about how our brains are not actually like evolved to handle these little, monolith bricks in our pockets, the internet and the computer and stuff like that. And I do fall into that camp. I believe that in some respects. So, but I think good storytelling like this, that's super advanced, I think is a really good thing for cognitive abilities for kids. So kind of pulls them up in like an active literacy. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah, well, that was very technical, Booza. I was just gonna say,
it's a good movie.
I was just gonna say that it was freaking hilarious. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was looking forward. We actually watched it for my birthday because you were like, "What are we going to do?" And I didn't want to have to wait till the kids went to bed. And I was like, "This movie looks really funny." We'd heard from some adult friends of ours in our game group that they were like, "That movie is hilarious. You guys got to watch it." And it was just so good. I mean, if you want a funny movie that everyone's gonna laugh at, this was it. I'm with you on all the cognitive stuff, but I just thought it was super funny, and I'd totally watch it again. It's hard to get something that's funny. I mean, we've been going through.
I mean, let's be honest. The bazooka cannon of cash that is Netflix misses, I think, on 80% of the stuff.
Yeah, they miss a lot, but this was really good.
You fell in love with Bridgerton and a few other things. Who wouldn't? Yeah, I know, whatever. But
I mean, you haven't watched it. But you would.
I haven't watched a minute of it. I watched more of the dude on SNL than I did on but anyway, like these type of movies I think are good gets for Netflix, and I'm happy that they're able to once in a while pull out a good one like this.
It's hard to find things that are funny. There was a post recently on Facebook where somebody asked, what are just some laugh out loud books? Our daughter just laughed out loud at the book with no pictures by BJ Novak. That was like, it's basically a book that has no pictures, where you have to read some super funny phrases and things, and the book makes you read them because adults have to read whatever the book says. And our daughter thought it was the funniest thing, and it got us laughing, and she's laughing.
It was good.
And she just totally dug it. So there was hundreds of comments, and people left all these like, they're super funny books. These books are great. Oh, my kids laugh at this book every time. I literally reserved, I don't know, 20 books from the library or something. These are supposed to be the funniest books. Everyone says these are so great. I read them to my 5-year-old, and she was just like, nope. Meh. She just didn't, none of them were funny. And it's so hard. Sometimes it feels so good to laugh. We're here kind of still just coming out of our isolation schooling. Sometimes I just want to sit down and do something that is just purely fun and funny. And as much as I love reading books, it's very rare that we laugh out loud at books. So this just felt good. It felt good to sit down and for somebody to say this was funny, and for it actually to be funny.
Laugh. So actual funniness.
It was actually funny. We actually loved it.
We highly recommend it. So
definitely.
Mitchell's versus the Machines. I think we'll link the trailer down below so you can check it out.
Yeah,
but it's on
really good.
It's on Netflix, free to stream if you toss those pennies and dollars at Netflix every month. It is there for you to enjoy. But we'll end how we always end, and what are we into? So, Ariel, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, Robin laid an egg.
It is that time of year again, apparently.
It's May, and we are listening to Christmas music.
It's almost Memorial Day, and what we're into in this house, apparently, is Christmas music. Those Jingle bells. That was today.
But
can't stop.
Also the kids. I think there's I think it's part of post-pandemic.
It's a
kids
kid
starting
conspiracy.
To play.
I think they want to go back to Christmas.
All the kids on the street are listening to Christmas music.
Right.
We've heard this.
We were walking down the street, talked to another mom, and I said, oh, good, I'm glad to get out of my house because like nothing but Christmas music. And she goes, you too? I said, what are you talking about? She goes, oh my gosh, we've had to watch Rudolph, and we watched Polar Express the other day. And literally, she's having to watch all these Christmas music movies, and her kids are listening to Christmas music. Our daughter came down this morning. I kid you not, it's almost Memorial Day as we record this.
Rudolph sweater.
She was wearing her Rudolph sweater and her shorts because she was, Mommy, I'm so hot. I'm like,
take your sweater off.
It's almost June. I don't know what's going on.
Listen, we live in the Pacific Northwest, and it was a balmy 65 degrees today and rainy.
It was warm in the house.
It was warm in the house.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like the further that you get away from Christmas, they're just they want to be back there so much that her birthday's not till late October, our daughter, so maybe she's thinking like it's a long time till I get presents again. I don't know what it is, but it's clearly infected other children in the neighborhood. So let us know if any of y'all are back at Christmas time now. Because maybe this is like a child epidemic that all the kids want to be back listening to Christmas music.
Instead of COVID-19, it's clause 21.
We literally, today, my 23-month-old come up, hey, Google, Christmas music. And I was like, how can you even...
And Google's now listening to her.
Well, yeah, she says, hey, Google, well enough that it can listen. But after that, it just, the little lights, they keep running because it just doesn't know. It's like it's constantly thinking.
She broke the AI.
Yeah. And then, and that was the thing too. When you were gone at dance class, she wanted to listen to Christmas music. And finally, she started just like getting real upset about Christmas music.
I was not in dance class. I was shepherding a child to dance class.
Clarify.
Matthew's not doing ballet. I am not doing salsa. But I might jazzercise from time to time.
When you were gone, so the little one wakes up from her nap, and she was, she's was upset as she is sometimes when she wakes up from her nap. And so, the only thing that would calm her was Christmas music. So I was like, all right, I mean, we'll see what it plays, and hopefully it won't be too bad, right? So I said, okay.
Little Mariah.
A
little Wham.
Always. she starts smacking the Google to make it louder. She wants Frank Sinatra to be as loud as possible in our house singing these old Christmas songs. So, yeah, we feel like we've gone back in time a little bit, as it was beautiful today, and our kids are listening to Christmas music. So, hopefully we're not alone, but we're going to be real. That's what we're into this week.
Hope you guys are having a good time.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!